Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for your prayers. I really appreciate them. I'm glad to be here to read to you again. Now, the last time that I read to you, I was telling you that I would look into the 70 times 7 weeks or something like that. And I looked into it. It's very, there's all these different schools of thought. Basically, what I want to leave you with is 7 is a word that I don't know if it today it resonates with the Jews, but 7 and the word week are interchangeable, okay? But because it says 77s, it actually is 490 years, okay? Now, that 490 years has been dickered over by theologians and scholars for centuries, okay? Trying to figure out when the end is going to come. Okay, so I'm not going to lead you through that. If you want to do your own study on that, you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do that. I just want you to know that when it talks about 70 times 7 or 77s, it's talking about weeks and years. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that because it gets very involved, and there's a couple of things that seem to be very close to explaining it all. And but there's there's digression on, not digression, but there's discussion on, well, is it 490 years from the time of this to Jesus' crucifixion? Is it 490 years from the time of this to that? And it just gets crazy. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that one interpretation with you, that 77s or 70 or 7 weeks times 70 or whatever, it's 490 years, okay? All right, so we're going to get started here with Daniel 10. Now, these chapters are even more difficult, okay? So rather than try to figure them out, I just want you to listen to them. And then tomorrow, we're going to take each one with enduring word, and we're going to parse it out, okay? So we're going to have an extra little blurb in there of parsing out Daniel 10, 11, and 12, because 11 in particular, 12 is very short, but 11 in particular is somewhat difficult. And we're going to let Enduring Word, Pastor Guzik, we're going to let him do that one for us, okay? So I'm going to read it. I want you to just absorb it. Just listen. Don't stress over trying to figure it out, okay? You may pick up some clues. I've picked up some clues where I'm starting to think that perhaps the Antichrist is going to come out of something Roman. I don't know. I want you to just listen, and we'll take it from there. And tomorrow we'll do a more in-depth look at it. We'll see what the scholars think it all means, okay? So Daniel 10. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a revelation was given to Daniel, who was called Belteshazzar. Its message was true, and it concerned a great war. One thing I do know is we're going to go out of here with a lot of war. Okay, there's going to be this long, never-ending war. Apparently, I don't know how long, but there's going to be war going on. The understanding of the message came to him in a vision. At that time, I, Daniel, mourned for 3 weeks. I ate no choice food, no meat or wine touched my lips, and I used no lotions at all until the 3 weeks were up. On the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, the Tigris, I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of fine gold from Uphaz around his waist. Now, Uphaz is a place. It's spelled U-P-H-A-Z. His body was like topaz, which we know is gold, or very deep gold to the point of almost looking orange. His face like lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs like the gleam of burnished bronze, and his voice like the sound of a multitude. Now, where have we heard that before? Remember the rushing waters, the 1,000 Niagara Falls? This sounds like a multitude. So it sounds like we're looking at God the Father here. I, Daniel, was the only one who saw the vision. Those who were with me didn't see it, but such terror overwhelmed them that they fled and hid themselves. So I was left alone, gazing at this great vision. I had no strength left. My face turned deathly pale, and I was helpless. Then I heard him speaking, and as I listened to him, I fell into a deep sleep, my face to the ground. A hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. He said, Daniel, you who are highly esteemed, Consider carefully the words I'm about to speak to you and stand up, for I've now been sent to you. And when he said this to me, I stood up trembling. Then he continued, do not be afraid, Daniel, since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I've come in response to them. But the prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Now we think this is Satan that this angel is talking about. Then Michael, one of the chief princes of the angels, he's an archangel, came to help me because I was detained there with the king of Persia. Now I've come to explain to you what will happen to your people in the future, for the vision concerns a time yet to come. So isn't that interesting that Satan opposed this angel of coming to Daniel, or getting to Daniel, to explain the vision of the end? Because of course it spells Satan's defeat. So Satan got in the way of this angel, which I think might be Gabriel, or this man, this angel, and he tried to oppose him until Michael came and beat him back, and this angel was able to get to Daniel. All right. While he was saying this to me, I bowed with my face towards the ground and was speechless. Then one who looked like a man touched my lips and opened my mouth and I opened my mouth and began to speak. I said to the one standing before me, I am overcome with anguish because of the vision, my Lord, and I feel very weak. So you remember he had this incredible vision and he mourned over it, okay? I said to the one standing before me, I'm overcome with anguish because of the vision, my Lord. I feel very weak. How can I, your servant, talk with you, my Lord? My strength is gone. I can hardly breathe. Again, the one who looked like a man touched me and gave me strength. Don't be afraid, you who are highly esteemed, he said. Peace, be strong now, be strong. When he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, speak, my Lord, since you've given me strength. So he said, do you know why I've come to you? Soon I'll return to fight against the prince of Persia, and when I go, the prince of Greece will come. But first I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. And then it says in parentheses, no one supports me against them except Michael, your prince. So that's very strange. Okay, so I guess this is the man, the angel, telling him the only one supporting me against these warring angels is Michael. And in the first year of Darius the Mede, I took my stand to support and protect him. That's also that's the end. Excuse me. Let me go back. So this chapter is broken into 2, 10 and 11. It says, no one supports me against them except Michael, your prince. And then it goes to 11. And in the first year of Darius the Mede, I took my stand to support and protect him. And then parenthesis. So there's some long war going on here, it sounds like, but we'll find out. Now then, I tell you the truth. 3 more kings will arise in Persia, and then a 4th who will be far richer than all the others. When he's gained power by his wealth, he'll stir up everyone against the kingdom of Greece. Then a mighty king will arise who will rule with great power and do as he pleases. After he's arisen, his empire will be broken up and parceled out towards the 4 winds of heaven. It will not go to his descendants, nor will it have the power he exercised, because his empire will be uprooted and given to others. I'm wondering if maybe that's Alexander the Great. I don't know. The king of the south will become strong, but one of his commanders will become even stronger than he and will rule his own kingdom with great power. After some years, they will become allies. The daughter of the king of the south will go to the king of the north to make an alliance, but she will not retain her power, and his power will not last. And his power will not last. In those days, she'll be betrayed together with her royal escort and her father and the one who supported her. Now, some people say this is Princess Berenice, and I think that will probably come up in Enduring Words, so we'll leave it we'll leave it for now. But this has already happened. One from her family line will arise to take her place. He will attack the forces of the king of the north and enter his fortress. He will fight against them and be victorious. So Daniel's looking at this as a forward vision. We're looking back at it, okay? Because this stuff's already happened. And it stands to reason that if this stuff has happened, then the time of the end is going to happen too, right? All right. He will also, let's start that again. One from her family line will arise to take her place. He will attack the forces of the king of the north and enter his fortress. He'll fight against them and be victorious. He'll also seize their gods, their metal images, and their valuable articles of silver and gold and carry them off to Egypt. For some years, he'll leave the king of the north alone. Then the king of the north will invade the realm of the king of the south, but will retreat to his own country. His sons will prepare for war and assemble a great army, which will sweep on like an irresistible flood and carry the battle as far as his fortress. Then the king of the south will march out in a rage and fight against the king of the north, who will raise a large army, but it will be defeated. When the army's carried off, the king of the south will be filled with pride and will slaughter many thousands, yet he'll not remain triumphant. For the king of the north will muster another army larger than the first, and after several years he'll advance with a huge army fully equipped. In those times, many will rise against the king of the south. Those who are violent among your own people will rebel in fulfillment of the vision, but without success. Then the king of the north will come and build up siege ramps and will capture a fortified city. The forces of the south will be powerless to resist. Even their best troops will not have the strength to stand. The invader will do as he pleases. No one will be able to stand against him. He'll establish himself in the beautiful land, capital letters, which means Israel, and will have the power to destroy it. He will determine to come with the might of his entire kingdom and will make an alliance with the king of the south. And he'll give him a daughter in marriage in order to overthrow the kingdom, but his plans will not succeed or help him. Then he'll turn his attention to the coastlands and will take many of them, but a commander will put an end to his insolence and will turn his insolence back on him. After this, he'll turn back towards the fortresses of his own country, but will stumble and fall to be seen no more. His successor will send out a tax collector to maintain the royal splendor. In a few years, however, he'll be destroyed, yet not in anger or in battle. He will be succeeded by a contemptible person who's not been given the honor of royalty. Now, this is about the Antichrist. He will invade the kingdom when its people feel secure, and he'll seize it through intrigue. That's what I really wonder about right there. Then an overwhelming army will be swept away before him. Both it and a prince of the covenant will be destroyed. After coming to an agreement with him, he'll act deceitfully, and with only a few people, he will rise to power. So people like Pelosi and Schumer and Schiff, just a few people will push him up. Okay? When the richest provinces feel secure, he'll invade them and will achieve what neither his fathers nor his forefathers did. So he comes from somewhere. He will distribute plunder, loot, and wealth among his followers. He'll plot the overthrow of fortresses, but only for a time. With a large army, he'll stir up his strength and courage against the king of the south. The king of the south will wage war with a large and very powerful army, but he won't be able to stand because of the plots devised against him. Those who eat from the king's provisions will try to destroy him. His army will be swept away, and many will fall in battle. The two kings, with their hearts bent on evil, will sit at the same table and lie to each other. And you can bet that kind of stuff is happening right now as we speak. But to no avail, because an end will still come at the appointed time. The king of the north will return to his own country with great wealth, but his heart will be set against the holy covenant. That means the Christians and the Jews. He will take action against it and then return to his own country. At the appointed time, he will invade the south again, but this time the outcome will be different from what it was before. Ships of the western coastlands will oppose him, and he will lose heart. Then he will turn back and vent his fury against the holy covenant. That's us. He will return and show favor to those who forsake the holy covenant. And there will be those who will walk away. They'll say, this is too hard. We want none of it. We're going to go where we think our bread is buttered with this great ruler. His armed forces will rise up to desecrate the temple fortress and will abolish the daily sacrifice. Then they will set up the abomination that causes desolation, the big talking statue that will command that all the Christians and Jews be put to death. With flattery, he will corrupt those who have violated the covenant, but the people who know their God will firmly resist him. Okay, now how do you think this statue can talk? I don't know. Excuse me. You think maybe 5G has something to do with it? I don't know. Those who are wise will instruct many, though for a time they'll fall by the sword or be burned or captured or plundered. When they fall, they'll receive a little help, and many who are not sincere will join them. That means there will be double agents pretending to be Christians to get in and ferret out the Christians for death towards the Antichrist. They'll be working for him, pretending to be Christians and getting in where the Christians are hiding. Some of the wise will stumble so that they may be refined, purified, and made spotless until the time of the end, for it will still come at the appointed time. So this is all written, folks. The king will do as he pleases. He'll exalt and magnify himself above every god and will say unheard of things against the God of gods. You remember how angry we got listening to people lie about Trump? It's going to be much worse than that. This time it's going to be a king. It's not going to be Biden. It's going to be another person who, instead of like Biden trashing Trump, this person is going to be in a position of power trashing God Almighty and Jesus Christ. So if you think you were angry, listen. If you think you're angry for the 4 years we had to listen to people trash Trump, who was doing wonderfully with our country, and all they could do was slander and smear him, call him a racist and a white supremacist and all this completely kooky stuff that was so obviously not true. You think that was offensive? Wait till you hear this king, the Antichrist, blaspheming God and Jesus Christ and all of his followers doing the same. You think they screamed at you over Trump? They're going to really scream at you over Jesus Christ. So this is just a taste, folks. He will be successful until the time of wrath is completed in all of his blasphemies and crazy. For what has been determined must take place. He will show no regard for the gods of his ancestors or for the one desired by women. Now, they believe that the one desired by women is Jesus Christ. That's what's believed, okay? That's what some scholars have deduced, that the one desired by women was Jesus, okay? For whatever reason, I don't know. You know, whether it's that the stain of sin is hard on the woman for leading her husband into sin, I don't know. But there are more Christian women than men, statistically. Nor will he regard any god, but will exalt himself above them all. Instead of them, he'll honor a god of fortresses, a god unknown to his ancestors. So he does have ancestors somewhere. We're going to be able to see where he comes from. He will honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts. He'll attack the mightiest fortresses with the help of a foreign god, and will greatly honor those who acknowledge him. He will make them rulers over many people and will distribute the land at a price. At the time of the end, the king of the south will engage him in battle, and the king of the north will storm out against him with chariots and cavalry and a great fleet of ships. He'll invade many countries and sweep through them like a flood. Shades of Alexander the Great, huh? He will also invade the beautiful land, Israel. Many countries will fall, but Edom, Moab, and the leaders of Ammon will be delivered from his hand. Now, those are enemies of Israel, so that's very interesting. Edom, Moab. Edom was Esau's line. Moab is Lot's daughter's child that she got by her father. And the leaders of Ammon, we know the Ammonites were terribly evil, will be delivered from his hand. I believe the Ammonites were the ones that God used the picture of the tree growing up really tall, and then God knocked it down and said, no birds are going to nest in you anymore. Pride. He will extend his power over many countries. Egypt will not escape. He will gain control of the treasures of gold and silver and all the riches of Egypt, with the Libyans and Cushites in submission. But reports from the east and the north will alarm him, and he'll set out in a great rage to destroy and annihilate many. He will pitch his royal tents between the seas, S-E-A-S, at the beautiful holy mountain. So he's going to pitch his tents on some holy mountain of God. I wonder if it's Mount Zion. Yet he will come to his end, and no one will help him. There was one other thing I wanted to say. He will set out in a great rage to destroy and annihilate many. You ever seen a narcissist freak out? That's what you're going to see. Okay? If you've ever seen a narcissistic person freak out in rage because he has been, had a hand held up to him, or he hasn't been able to do something, that kind of crazy rage that just has to, freak out until it dies out. At that time, this is 12. This is the last book of Daniel, and tomorrow we're going to go through this, okay? And this is a very short chapter. At that time, Michael, the great prince, the archangel, who protects your people, he's speaking to Daniel, who protects the Jews, will arise. There will be a time of distress such as not happened from the beginning of nations until then. But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, will be delivered. Multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake. So the dead are going to come out of their graves. It's going to be so crazy. The dead are going to wake up. Some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt, which is what hell is. Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, roll up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. Many will go here and there to increase knowledge. Then I, Daniel, looked, and there before me stood two others, one on this bank of the river and one on the opposite bank. One of them said to the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, "How long will it be before these astonishing things are fulfilled?" The man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, lifted his right hand and his left hand toward heaven. And I heard him swear by him who lives forever, saying, "It will be for a time, a times, and a half a time." That's 3.5 years, folks. When the power of, and that's part of that whole arithmetic on the 490 years, etc., etc. When the power of the holy people has been finally broken, all these things will be completed. I heard, but I did not understand. So I asked, "My Lord, what will the outcome of all this be?" He replied, "Go your way, Daniel, because the words are rolled up and sealed until the time of the end. Many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked. None of the wicked will understand, but those who are wise will understand." Now, when you look around today, remember how they screamed at you because you supported Trump, who was not a politician, and you wanted something different, so you voted for him and he did a good job? Remember the 4 years of those people screaming and how wicked they were? How they were like fools in their folly? They're going to continue to be like that. Why? Because none of the wicked will understand. They aren't going to see. Just like they don't see right now the obvious destruction of the Constitution. They don't see it. They don't get it. Because they never loved the truth in the first place. So therefore, they're just wicked people. And they have no understanding about the times that we're in. But those who are wise will understand. So be wise, okay? See what's going on and keep your eye on the bead, because the wicked don't get it. They just want to scream and yell and scream and yell and scream and yell. And they're going to continue to scream and yell right up to the end. They're not going to have a lick of understanding at what they're looking at. They don't know the difference between what's good and what's evil, what's wicked. They don't care either. They're just going to go with the crowd. They're going to do what they're told, just like the ones screaming at you to get the vaccine. Those are the people who couldn't care less about their lives, their own lives. They don't care. They're just they're little soldiers doing exactly what they're told. But the wise will understand. Keep understanding, okay? Don't let go. Don't take your eye off the bead, and don't leave the truth in the dust, okay? Don't. You can't afford to now. From the time that the daily sacrifice is abolished and the abomination that causes desolation is set up, that will be that speaking statue that orders the death of the people of the covenant, there will be 1,290 days. Blessed is the one who waits for and reaches the end of the 1,335 days. So that's 45 days longer, okay? And once again, I'm not going to get into the math of it. As for you, go your way till the end. You will rest, and then at the end of the days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance. Okay, so I was wondering about the statue that will speak and the miracles that will be done. And I just wonder if 5G and all that kind of stuff is going to be involved in it. That's just my human thought, okay? It's just conjecture. All right, so I love you. Tomorrow, we're going to not read scripture. We're going to spend the time in enduring word, and we're going to figure out mostly Daniel 11, King of the North, King of the South. We're going to figure out we're going to listen to what the scholars say about all of this, okay? I love you very much. Thank you so much for your prayers. I'm so glad to be victorious today, and I am truly victorious. The enemy wants to kill, destroy. Believe me, I'm not going to let him do it. If it ever got that bad, I would walk my butt to the emergency room, okay? And, I started to wonder yesterday, oh my goodness, do I need to do that? Because the depression was on me like I haven't felt in a long time. And once again, I'm going to reiterate, depression is organic. It's a brain deal, okay? It's the thoughts that you get hit with when you're down. Because as someone told me about the enemy, what he likes to do is he hits you on the back of the head, and as you go down, he knees you in the face. So when he sees you go down with depression, he starts to throw those fiery arrows. And what are the fiery arrows and the darts? They're thoughts that are wicked. They're awful. It's condemning, horrible thoughts that I'm not going to repeat. Just demonic thoughts about, just bad. Okay. And I was thinking about how interesting it is that with all of these things that are from schizophrenia to depression, a lot of them have to do with bad thoughts, the enemy throwing darts in there. Now, I'm not going to tell you that schizophrenics are demon possessed. That is not what I'm saying. Okay. But I'm saying that when there's an organic malfunction in the brain, the enemy loves to get in there because why do schizophrenics tell you that all the thoughts they have are bad? Why do they hear voices telling them you're worth nothing? Nobody cares. Well, those arrows get thrown at you when you're depressed. And they can get so bad because words are so powerful that it can bring you right down where you just feel like you're just barely your nose is barely out of the water. Okay, so with your prayer, with some praise music, I took a couple aspirin because the headache was starting to get really bad on top of the depression. I mean, I was just down. I was like, man, maybe I need to go to the ER and get a tranquilizer. It was really bad. But see, I don't even want to do that. I would have, though, and I want you to know that. There's no risk of, suicidal tendencies or any of that here, okay? And a lot of times, people doing work for the Lord get badly attacked. A lot of people deal with mental illnesses, meaning organic brain malfunction. It happens, okay? But your prayers saved the day, and I have been riding on them like on the crest of a wave all day today. And I just want to thank you so much. Remember that the Lord often uses vessels that have a weakness, because that way he can show his glory. And he can get the glory. And that's a testimony so that others can hear of him and say, who is this God that you serve? And boy, I have something to say about that. I love you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.